What's up everybody, my name is Owen, and yeah, welcome to part 3 of tips and tricks for building better LEGO vehicles. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so my first tip here, of course, has to do with color. As we all know, of course, vibrant colors pop more than, more basic colors like white, gray, or black. And yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say here is whenever possible, I definitely recommend trying to make builds in, more vibrant colors and just more vibrant color schemes. Like, it doesn't actually have to be like a single uniform color. And yeah, I also find that you might have a build that doesn't look too good in like the color that it is now, but simply changing the color can drastically change the look of it, and yeah, just make it look much better. Alright, so tip number 2 is basically going to be more about like the design process when building a car, and yeah, more specifically about blueprints. Usually I find that basically when I'm like designing a car off of a previously existing vehicle, which is basically like all my car designs, I usually look up a picture first, basically to design the car off of, and then I basically go from the picture. And which it usually works, and a lot of like for the details and stuff, pictures are a great way to do things. But sometimes when you're finished building something, something about it just doesn't look quite right. And yeah, I usually find that the problem with this is like some kind of proportion like in the car, like either the headlights could be too small, or you know, the car could be too long, too short. And yeah, here's where blueprints come into play. Like, the beauty of blueprints nowadays is, the fact that like you don't even have to print anything out, and basically all you have to do is really just look up like a blueprint of the car you're designing, and basically just click on the image, and then yeah, and then basically from there you can just like sort of scale it up and like size it to basically like if you're building a 6 wide or 8 wide, and yeah, then just like sort of match the car up to that image, and basically just tweak the proportions. Alright, so my next tip also has to do with the building process. And yeah, it would basically be to, reach a happy medium between the amount of detail and, the smoothness in a car. So basically there are two extremes here. One of them would be like adding way too much detail, which I occasionally see. It's basically where you add so much small details that basically like the whole shape of the car sort of starts to fade away, and you just have a lot of gaps in the car and it doesn't look super smooth. And then the other extreme would be where the car is too smooth and it's just, there's not really that many like little small details in it, and it almost just looks like too bland, if that really makes sense. Yeah, I know this sometimes happens to me, but I do usually try to fix it. And yeah, usually my end result is much better when I realize like if I need to add more detail or make the car smoother. For example, in this Porsche here, I think I did a good job, mixing the detail and the smoothness. As you can see, like the front's pretty detailed. It could be a bit more, but I think the fact that it's just a super clean design, the fact that there's that many gaps, I think definitely makes up for that, as well as the sides with the fenders and the rear. So my next tip here basically has to do with getting inspiration. And yeah, so a lot of people think of inspiration as basically the exterior features of a car, like inspiration for like how to do that kind of stuff. Basically what I'm going to mostly talk about is actually inspiration for like different building techniques. Yeah, so I just find it really helpful to sometimes watch some other people's tutorials or watch reviews on LEGO sets or just build LEGO sets to basically see what techniques they're using, as it can be really helpful in your own build in getting those specific shapes you need and just up your building game to a new level. And yeah, that would be my 4th tip. So my next and last tip for this video is to basically add opening features to your models. And yeah, so these details can be anything from an opening hood, to an opening trunk, to opening doors, and even just smaller opening things that you wouldn't normally think of. And yeah, so actually I haven't done this all too much, but recently I've actually started to add more opening features to my cars, like opening doors especially, and opening hoods. And yeah, I find it really that once you get the exterior feature of a car spot on, if you can add opening features, a lot of people will just be more surprised, and yeah, it'll just add a nice level of detail that it wouldn't normally have. However, I will admit that sometimes it isn't really possible to add an opening feature on some of my recent trucks where the hood designs are just too complicated, where I can't add an opening hood and engine. This sort of goes on to my tip where you want to have enough balance of details and smoothness, because sometimes you can't actually add an opening thing because it will just make the car not smooth enough and just look sort of bumpy and not really finished. Alright, so that basically brings us to the end of this video. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you can, benefit from some of these tips and techniques. And yeah, with that said, thanks for watching once again, and see you in the next one.